We're going to go ahead and get into MLB because, we can't end a show without talking about the MLB. And, of course, we got to start off with the Chicago Cubbies. They won 6 straight. That's 2 sweeps, beating the Twins and the Tigers both back-to-back. 6-game winning streak, longest of the season. They got the Reds starting tonight.
So they play today at 1:20.
Or today at 1:20. I say tonight, and it's 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
so
we're recording at 9 in the morning.
Yeah. But they got them at home. The Cubs play great at home. The Reds' hot streak is finally over. Do you guys expect the Cubs to reach a 10-game winning streak?
I sure hope so. They've got great potential. Like, the Reds are the worst team in our division. Now, we said that a couple weeks ago.
When they got swept.
And bad things happened. But
you were also at Cincinnati.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We were at Cincinnati then. We are 23-21 away games this year, and at home we're 26-14. We very much, obviously, play better at home. So I think this home stretch is really helping us out. I think playing a bad team at home will definitely boost a little bit more of that confidence we've been talking about, needing to get some of that back. So I think it's very attainable that they can reach that 10-game win streak.
I see that too. We're hot. We're super hot. The Cubs are hot, and the Cubs are hot, and the Cubs are hot. This is what they looked like in 2016 when they won the World Series. And they were not struggling near as much in the first half of the
But
season.
you guys were talking about this a couple weeks ago and saying it will happen. Just wait for it.
It's just a matter of when.
And it warmed up.
Here it is.
It warmed up. It got hot. That stint in Wrigley against the Twins, when that wind was blowing out to dead center. And them balls were just carrying. Kyle Schwarber, Addison Russell, everybody out here hitting bombs. Heck, we even got John Lester out here hitting bombs.
Absolutely.
So that's awesome. It warmed up. It was good conditions for hitting. Pitching, not so much, but pitchers, they got to keep them pitch counts to less than 25 an inning. I talked about that earlier. You're just laboring at that point when it's 107 heat index. So, but the fact that the bats are warming up and they're staying hot, they're scoring runs, they're coming through in the clutch.
And the pitching's improving, too. From 3 weeks ago, the pitching looks better than it did.
We're not giving up 10 runs a game the last couple of games.
That's what I'm saying. Whether it's a small improvement, it's still an improvement.
I'm going to say this. We're getting more production out of our starters, minus Kyle Hendricks, who's in his slump. I kind of figured it was coming. I just didn't know when. Hopefully he bounces out of it.
He's had 4 great seasons without a slump.
And he's here. And his slump, though, let's talk about that for just a quick second. His slump, he's not missing the strike zone. He is throwing strikes. His command isn't like Tyler Chatwood's, where he's 6 foot above your head and then he throws something bouncing into the dirt before it even hits the plate. So he's throwing strikes. He's just getting rocked. It's like since he's not a flame-throwing starting pitcher, he's just his junk pitches like his curveball, that slider he's got, and that slow change at the low 70s, mid-70s. It's just getting crushed. You can't do much about that. It'll come. Hopefully with the All-Star break, he'll be back, which happens in a week. So. I'm not really worried about Kyle Hendricks yet. I knew his slump was coming. But that being said, the starting pitching with Quintana's giving you good innings. Lester, being John Lester, he got NL Pitcher of the Month. Lester, Chatwood, we could just do without Chatwood. But Montgomery's coming in, stepping up in a big way. That's another dominant left-hander we have in there with John Lester, replacing Yu Darvish, which honestly I would be okay if Yu Darvish stayed on the bench.
Not for $126 million.
Put him in the bullpen for all I care. That's fine with me, too. I do not want to see him start because I don't want to see him ruin our streaks. Although, if he does get a W where he could score 5 or 6 runs or come through in the clutch with the bases loaded and get out of it, I could see him perking up a little bit. But I don't know. The Cubs starting pitching is just being really dominant right now, and it needs to continue to do that. And we got Brandon Morrow back, so that helps. Brandon Morrow. Justin Wilson, he's okay out of the bullpen. Brian Dunsing, I do not like at all. I never have. I never did like.
See, I like Dunsing. I don't like Wilson one bit.
I never did like that Brian Dunsing trade since day one that it happened. But I do like the fact that Morrow is back. But he is our closer. We know that. And he isn't getting very many innings because we've been beating everybody by a minimum of 6 runs. So,
real quick, I want to talk about Javier Baez, okay? That steal that he had when he was stealing home and he contorted his body and just touched it with his fingertips while avoiding the tag.
It's that swim tag.
How impressive was that?
Dude's just a stud.
He's
done this several times now. He'll just move his hand out of the way or move his whole body out of the way or just wiggle around wherever he wants to wiggle. But he's going to touch that bag before you touch him. He's just a stud.
Did you guys get a chance to see that play? Did you see it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so when he took off for second, and they muffed that throw to second base, and he went to third, and then that left fielder made the most god-awful throw I've ever seen in my entire life. It looked like a little leaguer. But when they muffed that throw to third, I thought he was going to take off right there, and it only bounced like 6 feet away from the bag. And I was thinking, oh, my God, he's going to steal home and get thrown out with nobody else. With nobody out, and we needed it because we didn't have a run on the board yet. But as soon as that play happened and Butterfield did call him back to third, I knew that he was going to go home. You could see it with Russell, especially when Russell got on first, because Javi was taking almost a 20-foot lead off of the bag. And the fact that he just goes home and just steals and swipes it like there's no problem, it's amazing. And it all started in the 2015 NLDS. When he did it there, that was really close. That just sparked his confidence for stealing home.
And real quick, I want to just give props to the officials for being able to see this, because when you're watching at home or you're there, you can't see it.
That bang play, it's hard to see.
Oh, you can't see it because I think, oh man, there's no way,
Yeah.
And then you go back and see that there's about an inch and a half between the glove and his shirt.
Yep.
When he's still clearing the bag. It was something incredible.
I've watched that video probably 57 times and paused it on several different moments.
6 inches.
And
he had.
It looks like he's getting tagged in most of them until you see that one very, very slim angle where you can actually see that he's not anywhere close to getting tagged. But to see that in real time, good job on that ref.
Because you got to think, Javi's flying down that base path.
Oh, yeah.
He is speedy, he's quick, and he's athletic, and I love Javier Baez. But he is absolutely hauling down that line. And the fact, too, that throw is coming in at least the upper 80s to mid-90s. And the fact that he can get it, see that tag, and see that they've missed and get the call right almost 75% of the time, it's unreal. I got nothing but respect for MLB.
It's incredible. Not only did he steal home, and have we seen him do this before, but we've seen him grow into almost a leader of this Chicago team. Where do you guys see him as far as a mentor for these young guys? Because we know he's still young himself, but he's been in the league for a few years now. As far as the leadership role goes, where do you see him fitting in at?
A leader, I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't see it either.
I think he's a spark plug.
Energy leader.
An electric factory. Dude is just there, and he's exciting. And he'll get the other guys amped up, but I don't think he's meaning to do it. He wants to do it. I just don't think he's necessarily a leader. He's not gonna, when they're down, he's not gonna go into the dugout and get everybody up off their butts.
In other words, he's not Jason Hayward
or Anthony Rizzo.
Yeah.
Right.
He's not that kind of leader. But as far as providing a spark and getting some excitement flowing, I think he's great for that. But I don't see him being a leader. I think he's still a little too immature. Not in a bad way. I just think he's young. He's still new to the league. Maybe several years down the road, but not now.
Javi Baez sits in that dugout when they're down 4-0, and he says, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to hit a grand slam. And that's what's going to happen. Them guys feed off of that energy. Him and Wilson Contreras both. They bring nothing but positive energy. They are absolutely electric to watch in that dugout and on the field. When something good happens, Javi's in that dugout doing some type of weird dance that we've never seen before. So, and Contreras, he's just a spaz, essentially. I love the guy to death. He's probably my favorite player on the Cubs, but he's a spaz. You can see him bouncing all over the field, bouncing all over behind home plate. It's just amazing to watch them two play together.
So would you say then, is he the most clutch player on the Cubs right now?
Right now, absolutely. There's nobody that is a non. Everybody on the Cubs has come through in the clutch at least once, but right now, Javi is the most clutch player on the Chicago Cubs. I would follow that up with Wilson Contreras, but Javi Baez is the hottest Cub that we have, and hopefully that will change when Bryant gets back, or we'll just add to the clutch factor when Bryant gets healthy.
Yeah, agreed. I think right now Javi is the guy. I've been talking about him for weeks. He's been my player to watch since we basically started this thing. He's an absolute stud right now. He is providing the clutch. He's providing the motor. He's providing everything. From start to finish, Javi's been the guy in every game for basically the last several weeks.
Real quick, I want to switch gears here and talk about a former Cub. Dexter Fowler of the St. Louis Cardinals. They had this statement come out from the owner and other executives that you have.
Yep.
Go ahead.
So the statement on that is that they're John Mozeliak, the Cardinals president of baseball operations. He stated this on the 5th, which was yesterday. He said, I've had a lot of people come up to me and question his effort, energy level. Those are things I can't defend. What I can defend is trying to create opportunities for him, but not if that's the expense of someone that's out there hustling and playing hard. That is such an immature statement to come out publicly with against a veteran player.
This is something real quick that I think a lot of people can relate this to the LeBron situation. I hate to go back to LeBron again, but it's too similar. When he left the Cavaliers and Dan Gilbert, their owner, the Cavaliers owner, came out and said that LeBron gave up and said that he didn't put the effort forth to beat the Celtics in the second round of the playoffs. I think this is a very similar situation. You cannot question a player's effort, what's going through their head, how their body is right now. I just find it ridiculous. You kind of just have to go with it and help them along, and whatever you can do to make, I don't want to say make life easier, but get them back into the swing of things so they can become the player that they were or improve themselves.
Well, what drives me nuts about this,
one, he's playing for the Cardinals.
Yeah. Dexter Fowler just left for paternity leave. He's having his second kid, and the statement came out after he left for leave. So he's not even there to defend himself. He's not even there to talk to this guy. Now, whether they had talks or not before he left, I have no idea. But I think it's childish and it's stupid that this came out after he left. The other thing, the beginning of that statement, I've had a lot of people come up to me and say, that's a very vague, basic statement. Everybody says that. If you want to put it out there, put it out there. You think that Dexter Fowler isn't putting in the effort. You think. Don't hide it behind a vague,
don't beat around the bush
statement.
With it, right?
Yeah, say it or don't. I don't like this statement coming from them at all. Dexter Fowler's done nothing but work hard for these guys. Every play, every inning, every game. I think that's awful coming from trying to bash on that guy.
And real quick, I just want to say this is coming from two Cub fans and a guy that will cheer for the Cubs when the Blue Jays are performing poorly. All right, this is a guy that played for the Cubs and is now playing for a rival of the Cubs, and we are trying to defend him because this is wrong for any player. If this was coming from the Rockies, if this was coming from the Dodgers, it doesn't matter. This is something that doesn't need to be said from a front office, especially, like you said, Tyson, for a guy that's not even able to defend himself right now. You don't say that to a guy that's leaving to go take care of his newborn, right?
Yep.
It's just unacceptable.
The thing that I'm hung up on the most is that he says, those are things I can't defend. What can he defend? I'm confused. There's nothing to defend on Dexter Fowler other than he's an amazing leadoff hitter.
Right.
He's having a slump. Yes, I understand that. Cardinals fans want to see him perform better. He performed well with the Cubs. You can't deny that. He got us a ring, basically. But the fact that he's their GM or their president of baseball operations is coming out and saying, I've had a lot of people come up to me and question his effort and energy level. What do you mean? What does that mean? Dexter Fowler provides all types of energy. It's just not feasible to make these comments publicly. Now, we don't know, like you said, if they talked behind closed doors, but everything I've heard on ESPN
should have stayed behind closed doors.
Absolutely.
This is something that shouldn't have went public, but the fact that he can't defend himself is a whole other issue at itself. Now, going forward, do you think that the Cardinals can repair their relationship with Dexter Fowler? Because I don't see it, and they still got him for 4 more years, I think, because he signed a 7-year deal with him.
Well, this is something, and I hate to go back to LeBron once again, but when he left the Cavs and went to Miami, and Dan Gilbert wrote that letter, he came back 4 years later because he had unfinished business. All right, I don't know what business Dexter Fowler has with the Cardinals other than collecting his paycheck. Right?
There's nothing. No
he
business.
went to the team that paid him the most money. Now LeBron came back and I don't want to say mended that bridge, but he put up with it and he brought home a ring. Okay, baseball is very different, and if Dexter Fowler doesn't have any business being in St. Louis other than to collect his check, then I would be requesting a trade right now.
Yep.
But the question is, what team wants him at this point with the owner coming out and making those claims, whether they want to believe it or not, just with the season that he's had?
I don't know. For something that's as established as the Cardinals organization to come out and say this, I just don't understand the maneuver. It doesn't make sense because
Leave it to the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Dexter Fowler is going to give you 100% no matter where he's at, and he's in a hitting slump, and his hitting is affecting his fielding. You know, it's all one big deal in Major League Baseball that all coincides with each other. I feel bad for the guy. He should have never left Chicago in the first place. He was much happier in Cubby Blue, but he wanted to chase that paycheck rather than chase rings. So,
which when you already have one, that's kind of the way it goes most of the time. I mean, that's any sport. If you got a championship, you want to get paid.
Well, there's some validity to that, but at the same time, I'd rather see him stay loyal because he was a lot happier in Chicago.
Absolutely.
I can tell you that right now.
And most players are happier playing for the Cubs.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, at least recently.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
ever since the Cardinals' last title, I haven't really heard anything great coming out of St. Louis.
They've steadily declined, but now they're in the process where they're rapidly declining.
Yeah.
The only thing that the Cardinals have is that young pitching core. That's it. Besides Yachty, of course, but Yachty's their franchise guy, and he always has been. And he will be. He's just getting old. There's no doubt about it. But they've got Miles Michaelis, Carlos Martinez, Luke Weaver, Michael Wacha, and Jack Flaherty. Even though Wacha's on that 10-day DL, that's still saying something. That Jack Flaherty, I watched him pitch last night against the Giants for a little while. He's a stud. Luke Weaver, he's a stud. I watched Jack Flaherty pitch against the Cubs. But Luke Weaver and Jack Flaherty, those two guys right there are just going to be nothing but all-stars for the Cardinals in the upcoming years. But I know, coming from the past, that the Cardinals are somehow going to lose that.
Real quick, I know that we love talking about the Cardinals and the Cubs, but we got a couple more teams that we got to get to here. Real quick, the Nationals, they're continuing to struggle here. They're 43-43. They're sitting at 500. Bryce Harper is having his worst year at the plate. Could this have to do with that shift to left-handed power hitters, or what's the problem with Bryce Harper right now? Why is he declining?
Well, you see that shift every game so hard against Anthony Rizzo.
Left-handed power hitters.
Left-handed power hitters. Every team is starting to shift hard against all of them, and you're starting to see it working. It's working on Bryce Harper. Anthony Rizzo was 2 for 23 over the last couple of weeks. It's definitely working. It's throwing a mental block in a lot of those guys' heads. And it's definitely affecting their hitting. And if you affect Bryce Harper, you affect the Nationals because he's a big part of that team.
You've got this exaggerated shift that the MLB has come up with to stop this left-handed power hitting. Power hitters that are left-handed are dominantly going to hit the ball to the right side of the field. And that is a given. You see it with Rizzo, Schwarber, Hayward, Harper, everybody.
Given that everyone has to run to first base, this poses a problem to begin with.
Well, right. Power hitters are going to generally take that ball over that right field fence anyway.
Right.
But that being said, this exaggerated shift, let's just talk about this just for 2 seconds. That exaggerated shift, you have the first baseman, the shortstop. You got the shortstop playing where it's in the between second and first. The second baseman's in the middle of the outfield, kind of back behind the short where the second baseman normally stands. You got third base playing behind the second base bag. I don't understand that shift. It works. It's proven. It's putting Rizzo in a slump. It's putting Bryce Harper in a nasty slump this year. He's only batting like 241. That's unreal for Bryce Harper. But the fact, too, that the Nationals are such a bad organization to begin with, they've got some free agents as well, and with Harper and Gio Gonzalez and Daniel Murphy. Daniel Murphy wouldn't be near as big of a punch if they lost him because he's getting old, although we did see what he did against the Cubs in 2015 NLDS. But, that's just old news. But he's getting old. Age, you can't stop it. We've said that. We've beat that into the ground. You can't stop age. Gio Gonzalez, losing him, if he walks, he's going to want paid. He's a solid pitcher. He deserves to get paid. But that's the fact that they lose those 3 guys, the Nationals are done, and I feel bad for Dave Martinez, who just took that manager spot from Chicago. He was their bench coach. I feel bad for him a little bit because he took over a crap organization, and now that crap organization is even worse.
Well, and they weren't too bad 2 weeks ago, but they're 2-8 in their last 10 games.
Yeah.
That's 2 wins, not 2 losses. They're 2-8 in their last 10 games. But Gavin said earlier they're 500. They're 43-43. In those 86 games, they're plus 23 in run differential. It's not like they're not putting up runs.
Pitching.
But their pitching is just struggle, which is insane because I'll rave about their pitchers all day. They've got so many guys that you could consider an ace on just about any team. But so they're plus 23 in run differential. That's insane. That's better than some of the conference leaders in all the other divisions. I don't really know how they're struggling so bad. I know Bryce Harper is a chunk of that. But the Nationals are struggling, and I just don't really understand it.
Well, this is one more thing I want to touch on. Yeah, it's terrible for the Nationals because dropping those 8 games, that pretty much takes them out of playoff contention at this point.
They're 6 games back.
I
right
mean,
now.
we thought that they had a slim chance of making. A slim chance of
At
making
the
it.
beginning
But
of the season, I thought they had an even greater chance.
Right. This is just from a couple weeks ago. We thought that they still had a slim chance to make it in, and now that's pretty much diminished. It's gone. They're not gonna make it. But moving past that, I want to get into real quick before I touch on a couple potential trades. This trade that I want to get to, what do the Orioles do with Machado right now? And where does he go with 3 weeks before the deadline? What team is willing to pick him up? What team should try to pick him up? And how much is Baltimore going to want in return?
So I said this a couple weeks ago that Kawhi's not going to trade because the Spurs aren't willing to get rid of him for a low trade kind of thing. But I think the Orioles will get a lot more out of Machado than the Spurs will with Kawhi. Because Kawhi's set. He wants to play for the Lakers. He wants all this and that, and he won't play. Machado really doesn't care. He wants to go somewhere where he can win and he can get paid. He wants a ring. So I don't really know who should pick him up. I know a team that I would like to see pick him up.
We both know a team we want to see him on.
And they may wear blue and red and live in Chicago.
Uh-huh. But I think the Orioles can actually get something out of him because teams know that he's not just a 1-year rental like Kawhi is. If you show him something, give him a reason to stay, he will. And he can put on for a long time for you and show out for your team and give you good results.
I'm so lost with the Manny Machado decision now. I was reading on MLB.com the other day that they put him on all 50 teams. The teams that he benefited the most are the Houston Astros, which I don't understand that because they have Carlos Correa in the shortstop position. Their third base position, though, is kind of lacking, and
Right.
he can play
He
third.
can play third.
He can play third a lot better than he can play short or second. But that could be a good fit. I also saw Seattle at number 1.
That would be interesting.
That would be very interesting, and there's their rental guy. They got their rental if Seattle does pick him up. As much as I want to see him in Chicago, I'm starting to see pieces that aren't allowing that, or that are not going to allow that to happen. The fact that we don't want him here for a rental when we have Addison Russell, who still can produce, and he is producing a little more. Mark my words, I'm feeling bad for saying that because I still think he should leave. But the fact that he is going to be a rental guy, I would rather the Cubs pass on Machado to get Harper. That's just me, because we know Mike Trout's more than likely not going to leave L.A.
Right.
Unfortunately.
He likes that Rodeo Drive, and no matter how bad he is, he's already going to be the greatest player of our generation. So, I don't know. That Manny Machado, that's...
Undoubtedly not just our generation. I mean, that's going to be the best player in Angels history by far.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
there's some validity to that, but I don't, he's already putting up Babe Ruth numbers.
Right.
So that's kind of concerning there, and he's only been in the league for 5 years. We got to remember, too, with the Bryce Harper situation, he's only 25.
Right.
He's been in the league for a long time, so nobody remembers that he's only 25. But with Machado, I don't know. I just don't see him ending up in Chicago right now, as of right now. That could change because it's about to heat up. We're about to hit the hot stove.
Oh, yeah.
So it's going to be interesting.
People definitely going to be jumping around. And real quick, one last thing I want to touch on is the Yankees and the Brewers are showing a lot of interest in DeGrom. The Yankees also showing interest in the Blue Jays' Happ. What do you see happening with DeGrom, and is Happ going to end up with the Yankees or possibly in Seattle?
I could see Happ. Well, here's the thing. If the Yankees acquire J.A. Happ, they're not going to have the space to get Jacob DeGrom because the Mets are going to want everything and anything for Jacob DeGrom. Can't blame them. You know, they got him locked. He's their best pitcher. He can't opt out of his contract and go somewhere else by this free agency deadline, but I just don't see that happening. J.A. Happ to the Yankees, that ain't going to happen because Toronto's not going to trade their best pitcher to New York, their division rival.
Right.
Unless they're getting quite a bit in return.
Which the Yankees aren't going to give up anything.
Absolutely
they're not.
not.
Gonna offer that. They're not going to help rebuild their own rival.
Who could they offer? Gleyber Torres,
Right.
But they don't want to offer Gleyber Torres
No.
because he's their hottest shortstop they've got right now. Maybe Greg Bird.
Well,
that
and
first
see, that's
baseman.
exactly what the Jays are looking for because Tulowitzki's been struggling this year.
They're not going to get rid of Gleyber Torres.
Right.
That's not going to happen. But no, I don't see him going to the Yankees. I also don't see Jacob DeGrom going to the Yankees. I could see him. The Brewers are showing a lot of interest in J.A. Happ. So are the Mariners. But I feel like since the Mariners are showing a lot of interest, he's not going to lead the AL. That's just my opinion.
I think the trade deadline coming up, it's getting real hot in the MLB so far this year. But I think, I just don't really think it's all going to happen. I think everybody's getting a little too excited, making too many predictions, thinking about everything too much. I think we'll see more pieces stay put than what we're expecting.
See, yeah.
We just want to anticipate for anything that could possibly happen.
Right.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that could happen, but whether it happens or not, that's a whole different story.
But see, that's half the fun
is
is
with the Mets,
speculation.
Though it sucks.
I want to see him out of that organization so bad.
Yeah,
he would fare well with any other team besides the Mets.
Kind of how I felt when the Mets signed Bautista, but I don't think anyone wants to see anyone from their team go to the Mets.
No, not the Mets.
Please, not the Mets. But hey, speculation's half the fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why we like talking about it. But
it wouldn't be sports without speculation.